Hare Krishna, everyone, and welcome to Bhagavad-gita lecture. Today we are studying 635. So let us chant the auspicious invocation mantras. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate
Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Jai. So, Śrī Bhagavan Uvacha. Ashanshayang mahabaho mano durnigraham chalam abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyana cha grihyate. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. So there, I'm sharing the screen in case someone would like to see the text. Lord Śrī Kṛṣṇa said, O mighty armed son of Kuntī, it is undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind, but it is possible by suitable practice and by detachment. Purport. The difficulty of controlling the obstinate mind, as expressed by Arjuna, is accepted by the personality of Godhead. But at the same time, he suggests that by practice and detachment it is possible. So what is that practice? In the present age, no one can observe the strict rules and regulations of placing oneself in a sacred place, focusing the mind on the supersoul, restraining the senses and mind, observing celibacy, remaining alone, etc. By the practice of Krishna consciousness, however, one engages in 9 types of devotional service to the Lord. The first and foremost of such devotional engagements is hearing about Krishna. This is a very powerful transcendental method for purging the mind of all misgivings. Purging means purify, and misgivings is some kind of doubt. So this is a very powerful transcendental method for, you could say, purifying the mind of all doubts. The more one hears about Krishna, the more one becomes enlightened and detached from everything that draws the mind away from Krishna. By detaching the mind from activities not devoted to the Lord, one can very easily learn vairagya. Vairagya means detachment from matter and engagement of the mind in spirit. Impersonal spiritual detachment is more difficult than attaching the mind to the activities of Krishna. This is practical because by hearing about Krishna, one becomes automatically attached to the Supreme Spirit. This attachment is called Parish Anubhava, spiritual satisfaction. It is just like the feeling of satisfaction a hungry man has for every morsel of food he eats. The more one eats while hungry, the more one feels satisfaction and strength. Similarly, by discharge of devotional service, one feels transcendental satisfaction as the mind becomes detached from material objectives. It is something like curing a disease by expert treatment and appropriate diet. Hearing of the transcendental activities of Lord Krishna is therefore expert treatment for the mad mind, and eating the foodstuff offered to Krishna is the appropriate diet for the suffering patient. This treatment is the process of Krishna consciousness. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshurun Militan Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jayo Śrī Kṛṣṇa Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jai. So I will read again what Lord Krishna is saying here. So Lord Krishna is saying, Almighty armed son of Kuntī, it is undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind, but it is possible by suitable practice and by detachment. Because in the previous verse, Lord Arjuna is saying to Lord Krishna, he's saying the mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong, O Krishna. And to subdue it, I think, is more difficult than controlling the wind. So I don't know if you have seen sometimes in the YouTube they have these shorts where they're showing the different, how do you say, bad weather in America recently. Like they had this whirlwinds, tornadoes, which are just like taking up everything and destroying everything on its way. So the wind can be like that. Or sometimes they show the boats on the ocean, and then the boat is like this and almost falling into the ocean. So that is the mind. So now, because the wind is very powerful, so the mind is how do you say, compared to that turbulent wind by Arjuna. And we have to understand who is Arjuna. So Arjuna he's a warrior king or prince, and he was Drona Acharya's best student, like really the best. So Drona Acharya, he's a Brahmana. He's teaching the princes of the Kuru dynasty. He goes there one day and he's going to teach them the martial arts. And while he's doing this, his classes for the princes, then he wants to teach them how to shoot and aim with an arrow and bow. So he's asking every one of his students, like before they shoot the arrow, he's asking, what do you see? So then some say, I think Bhima said, I see the sky. And then Drona is like, get out, don't shoot. And then Duryodhana is saying, I see the rooftop of the building. And then he's like, go, don't shoot. So each and every one of these princes, they were saying, different things. Maybe someone said, I see a bird. And then Dronacharya, no, don't. Because they were going to aim at the eye of the bird. That's what Dronacharya wanted to teach them. And then finally, he asked Arjuna, what do you see? And then Arjuna says, I see the head of the bird. And then, do you see anything else? Arjuna says, no, I can't see anything else. I only see the head of the bird. And then Dronacharya said, okay, now you shoot. So then he shot through the eyes. So this Arjuna, who has such power to focus in the martial arts, so he has a lot of power to focus the mind. But still, he is saying that this Ashtanga yoga system is not suitable for him. And one of the reasons is, of course, because he is a warrior, and then it's very difficult for the warrior to not have friends and enemies. But another reason is just that what Arjuna is going to do here, he's going to emphasize devotional service by being Krishna's student, and then taking the role of a person who is, an ordinary person who is in the material world. So he's taking that role. It's explained also that by Prabhupada, that in India, when a young woman marries, the tradition is that she leaves her family and now she becomes the part of her husband's family. So the mother-in-law, she's going to teach, all the customs of the family, how to cook, how to clean, how to do the puja and everything. So it may be a little too much for the ego of that, newcomer to be all the time corrected. So the cultured way to teach someone is actually by. So then she's teaching her own daughter, the mother-in-law. She's teaching her own daughter. This is how you cook. This is how you clean. So then the daughter-in-law is going to hear all of that. So in that way, it is like a more cultured and sensitive way to teach to someone who has not like fully surrendered yet to that person. As we all know that the relationship between mother-in-law and sister-in-law is always a little bit like a competition, or because they are competing for the man. The mother-in-law wants to remain the first lady in the son's life, but then the wife is there, so there is always problematic situation. But in the same way, then Krishna is also, he's a very, although he's the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Controller, the owner of everything, we can see in Krishna's character what an amazing humility is there in God, and such a sensitive, considerate nature, that he's actually, when he's teaching to the conditioned souls who have not fully surrendered to him, he's actually teaching his surrendered devotees. So in this case, it's Arjuna. He's the surrendered devotee. So Arjuna, he can take, because he's already surrendered, he can take all the teaching. So then when we studied, like, at least I'm not fully surrendered, I'm trying my best. So when we study Bhagavad-gita, then we can see, Arjuna, he's taking the role of the conditioned soul, and then Krishna is sometimes chastising him, sometimes he's praising him, like that. So then in that way we can learn. So now when Arjuna is in these verses, he's taking that role of the conditioned soul, then he's saying that although he's very qualified and he can control his mind without any doubt, but he's just taking that role, then he's saying it is very difficult to curb the restless mind. No, Krishna is, Arjuna said, I think it's very difficult to control the mind. And then in the next verse, Krishna is agreeing, yes, it is undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind, but it is possible by suitable practice and by detachment. So what in ISKCON, what we got from this glorious Guru Parampara, which we are representing and which we are part of, is it comes from Srila Prabhupada, who has he's the founder Acharya, which it doesn't mean that 1966 he signed a paper where he said, now I have founded ISKCON. Founder Acharya doesn't mean that. Founder Acharya means that he has taken all the previous Acharyas, how do you say, teachings, and he has studied very, very carefully and put it in his purports so that the world can benefit from the teachings of the previous acharyas. So what Prabhupada has done here is now I lost the track because it's difficult to control the restless mind.
But you were just saying that Prabhupada has combined all the different teachings of the previous acharyas, and therefore he's the founder of.
He's the founder of ISKCON, but he's thank you. So what I wanted to say is he has not only written down a theory and a method, like in the world of science, it's always a question of what theory has this this student or professor used or scientist used? What is his theory? What is his method? And who are those theories and methods coming from? From where are they coming from? So in the same way, we also have the same like what is the, not that Krishna consciousness is the theory, but it's like it's the absolute truth, and then the method, because you can't just have something written down, you have to have a method. So the method in order to reach the goal is actually the practice. So we have Prabhupada's books and we are studying them, but then the whole idea is that we are supposed to practice. So Prabhupada also gave the practice. That's what I wanted to say. So he has taken from the previous acharyas, and the previous acharyas are like Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami, and also going back in the line. So they have all written, some of them have written their purports, and then Prabhupada has taken their teachings. But Lord Chaitanya, he had his disciples, his personal disciples, like Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, and he told them now, and Jiva Goswami, he told them, now you have to scrutinizingly search in the Vedic scriptures, in the Puranas, Itihasas, search there and write Bhakti Shastris, like take from there the conclusions of the Vedas, and the conclusions of the Vedas and all those holy scriptures is actually Bhakti Yoga. That is the conclusion of the Vedas. And then from their written literature, so then Prabhupada has taken from Rupa Goswami, Bhaktisiddhanta, the nectar of instruction, nectar of devotion. From there, he took the practice. And the practice is that a disciple in this line gets up early in the morning, attends the Mangalarti and chanting 16 rounds, worship the spiritual master, worship Srila Prabhupada, and listen to the Bhagavatam lecture in association of devotees, and is discussing this, and then do some kind of practical service for Krishna, and then there is an evening program, and one has to study all the books. So that's like for a full-time devotee, they have to do like that. But this whole program and the practice which Prabhupada has given is actually something which has a deep foundation in the Holy Scriptures and what the previous acharyas has given. So if one follows some part of it, one can maybe not can follow everything, but even if one follows something of that, one will actually make a spiritual advancement. But the most important, while following something or everything, is actually to take association of more advanced devotees, because by observing how they do it, how they practice, how they apply the philosophy, and by asking them questions, so then one can make very quick progress. And then if one can study under one's spiritual master and learn the philosophy like that, so then one will actually make very quick progress. One of the things which is good for Krishna consciousness is like, I'm lucky I have good association from my husband, that it's actually, he's very keen to go every year to pilgrimage to the holy dham, to Vrindavan, to Mayapur, Tirupati, and so on, different holy places. So if one goes to the holy dham, then one will make a lot of spiritual advancement as well. I think Prabhupada said 3 days in Vrindavan is like 10 years in the holy in the West. advancement. Yes, you have a comment or question?
I mean, it's the 1,000, even temples, the service is strong effect to the spiritual life, but still the holy Dham is 1,000 times more, said Prabhupada. So it's amazing power of the holy Dhams, and should be always respected.
Yes, it is. It is very strong. I mean, my most strongest experiences or realization in Krishna consciousness has always been like either in some kind of kirtan mela where there are many pure devotees there, or it has been in the holy Dham when one goes and just pray and do different types of parikramas. Parikrama means when you walk around from one holy place to the other, like pilgrimage. So yeah, it's very much worth it, because then one comes home back surcharged with this spiritual energy. But one can also, if one can't go to India, one can also just go for a retreat to some temple and just stay there for 1 week, 2 weeks, like that, and recharge, because then one goes home and then one is like surrounded by an opposite people going an opposite direction, and then for that one needs a lot of strength in order to maintain one's spiritual life. So that has also been a big help in my own spiritual life, to just go to different ISKCON temples, even in Europe, and for some retreat or just staying there doing some service. So that then one will get that higher taste and also realization. But it is a difference when we go to India, because we may read about Kurukshetra, the war in Kurukshetra, like when we are studying now this Bhagavad-gita. It was spoken in that holy place of Kurukshetra. So let's say then, and one goes there and you see the place, oh, it actually happened. So then it becomes like more, the faith is increasing. And then you go to Vrindavan and then you see all these places where Krishna appeared in Mathura, or he was tending the cows in there where Krishna Balaram Mandir is, and like that. So then the faith becomes stronger, and then of course one will meet some holy people and humbly ask them some questions. So does anyone else have some comments or questions? Okay, Oskari. Yeah, have you been in the holy Dham? I think you have been in Vrindavan, right?
Yes, a number of times, Mataji. I have visited. Well, now, as you asked, there was something on my mind, that as the verse is discussing the importance of detachment, which is one of the ongoing themes there
Oh yeah,
throughout the Bhagavad-gita.
yeah,
So
sure.
there we have, well, for instance, there in the 15th chapter, as Bhagavan Śrī Kṛṣṇa is explaining about or he's giving this parallel or a comparison, comparing this material world to a reflection of a tree. And yeah, if you wish, you can elaborate on this. But he then mentions that when one has to cut down this tree with weapon of detachment, and so this detachment is something really crucial, and it comes naturally. We do need not artificially or separately try to practice this detachment, but as Srila Rupa Goswami writes that Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe Yukta Vairagya Uchate, that when we're attached to Krishna, then detachment from material existence follows automatically.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so that's why this program, which I was describing, it's actually helping us to come close to Krishna. And then it will be much more natural to let go of the lower taste when you get the higher taste. So that's, I mean, it's as simple as that. We don't need to be so, you know, how do I say? Sometimes we make spiritual life more difficult than what it is. And also we depend on Krishna to become detached, because we chant Hare Krishna, but it's up to Krishna if he wants to reveal himself. But we can just show him that we are interested in having a relationship with him. But then it's up to him to reveal himself. So usually he's just waiting for the right attitude of humility, tolerance, and not expecting respect to oneself. And when he sees that one is serious, then he will immediately be there when we're chanting the holy name, because he is in the holy name. He's non-different. Yeah. So let's read here the purport, because Prabhupada is in this purport. He's giving several extremely important points actually for spiritual life. If we manage to understand these points, then spiritual life will be actually very easy. So Prabhupada is saying that the difficulty of controlling the obstinate mind is, as expressed by Arjuna, is accepted by the personality of Godhead. But at the same time, he suggests that by practice and detachment, it is possible. So practice and detachment is what I spoke about before, is just the daily, what is called sadhana, the daily practice of spiritual life. So let's say someone may chanting every day, something in the morning, something in the evening, whatever one is able to do. So, and then at the same time, practice the detachment. So what is that detachment? We'll go a little further on, and Prabhupada will explain. But first he explains what is practice. What is that practice? In the present age, no one can observe the strict rules and regulation. So here he is describing the Ashtanga Yoga. Placing oneself in a sacred place, focusing the mind on the superstall, restraining the senses and the mind, observing celibacy, remaining alone, etc. So that's the Ashtanga Yoga. But then the alternative, especially now in this age, in Kali Yuga, the alternative is Bhakti Yoga, Krishna consciousness. Not that it didn't exist in the other yugas, but for Kali Yuga is actually the easiest way to advance spiritually, is Krishna, what Prabhupada is mentioning, Krishna consciousness, the practice of Krishna consciousness. So Krishna consciousness just means you just add the understanding that Krishna is with you always, and he's the one who is controlling your life. He's the one controlling the universe. And of course, we have the free will. So, but he's controlling the whole universe and everything. So if we acknowledge that, we eat that humble pie and acknowledge that God is the controller and the enjoyer, so then very easily we can advance spiritually. But it is something which we forget all the time. So one part of that detachment is that we have to be detached from our own desire to want to be God, our own desire to want to enjoy in the material world and to control the material energy. So that's, I would say, that's the main detachment which we have to work on. So then Prabhupada says there are 9 ways to practice devotional service or bhakti yoga. So the first and foremost, so foremost means the most important, is to hear about Krishna. Let's say we are now hearing about Krishna. So we're actually performing bhakti yoga. And if we are chanting, when we are hearing, that's also devotional service. We discuss about Krishna, that's also bhakti yoga. So then he's saying, this is a very powerful transcendental method, and it will purify the mind from all misgivings. So misgivings means the doubts. And it's a little ridiculous to have the doubts like, oh, am I not God? But nobody is saying, oh, I'm not God. Oh, I thought I was God. No, nobody is saying like that, but everyone in the material world is acting like that, as if they think that they are the center of the universe and the controller and enjoyer. So that has to be purified from the mind, because let's say we have had a competition since time immemorial, since we started in the material world, our career of trying to be God. Since time immemorial, we have tried to have, we have had the mind, and then we have the soul. Okay. So the mind is going to bring us to a next body, and the soul will bring us to the spiritual world. So let's say we have taken birth 1 million times in the material world. So how many times did the soul win? And how many times did the mind win? So like, 0 for the soul and 1 million for the mind. So it's quite important that we take very seriously and understand what is the mind and how can we actually control it. So then when we take that seriously, then we will start understanding what is actually going on in the material world, because it is the mind who is going to take us to the next body. And the question is, do we want that? Do I want to take birth again? Do I want to go to school again, have new parents, go to school, and go to university, and again have a job, and becoming sick and becoming old and then die again? How many times do we want to do that until we think that maybe there is something more, interesting than just going in circles all the time? At one point, we will become tired of going in circles and say, okay, now I had enough. So when we feel that we had enough, so then that's when Krishna becomes active, and he is now presenting, okay, here, Bhagavad-gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Hare Krishna mantra. Do you want it or you don't want it? So if you want it, then try to practice as much as your life, is allowing. Then practice little by little, more and more and more, and then at the end of life, we can, go back to Godhead. There is one interesting verse here. Oh, sorry, my husband. Yes, go ahead, Prabhu.
Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, Prabhupada is mentioning that Oscar is good question about the detachment. What is upside down is actually our desire. Like you mentioned that it's to enjoy the material world, but then the Mayavadistic thinks that there is nothing to enjoy, though. So what you said, the higher taste in the beginning, also maybe a little shortly mention, is that when we offer that whatever fruits are there to the Lord, then we get the higher taste. So the Mayavadism is kind of refusing that there are no fruits, or they are not real. There is what is not real is when they are not connected. So this makes the difference that we think apple is real, but it becomes the activity becomes tasteful when we connect the apple back to the Lord. We offer that in the altar, and it becomes distasteful when we think it's just ours, no connection to the Lord. So this is basically the upside down thing, is that our desire, like already she mentioned 2 things, she mentioned that, but I'd just like to say that our twisted desire doesn't allow the higher taste to come. And when the higher taste comes, then naturally we try to connect because everything comes from God, so everything can be connected back to the God. So the narrow mind spiritualism, only few things can be connected, and not everything, but everything can be connected back to the God. So then the more we connect things, the more Krishna conscious we are. Like, for example, we see that in our life stages, the brahmachari has not so many things to connect. He has to consider, of course, things which are under his to be connected, but family, devotee, grihastha has to already consider so many things. How to connect that back to children's education, the economy, the all the facilities and like that. So it offers actually even more opportunities to be Krishna conscious, and it offers also more opportunities to be not Krishna conscious. If we think the house is our creation, nothing with Lord. In the beginning, we prayed that hopefully we get a nice house. When we got it, then we forget whom everything belongs, and like that. So our Krishna consciousness is supposed to expand the connections and being broad mind. But many times in our, how would I say, certain circles of the practice, we consider that also the detachment means to become more narrow, like walking like almost on the road. Don't look there, don't look that. There is no women beauty, there is no nature beauty, there is no tasteful food, there is no. So I'm just a little over-exaggerating to say that is not Krishna consciousness, that is Mayavadism. I don't know if, Oskari, you catch point, but your good question. I just like to see mention those points, but I just thought to expand them a little bit, because otherwise it may, yeah.
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. It was very nice. Let me see here. Okay, so what I wanted to read now is one verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam regarding the mind. It says, at the time of death, according to the thinking, feeling, and willing of the mind, which is involved in fruitive activities, one receives a particular body. So the body which we all have now, it is actually a result of previous lives' thinking, feeling, and willing of the mind. So think about that. What kind of body we have? So there must have been certain desires which have created exactly this body which we have now. And then one receives, in other words, the body develops according to the activities of the mind. Changes of body are due to the flickering of the mind. For otherwise the soul could remain in its original spiritual body. So this is, I think it's extremely important to understand that the whole problem with which we have is actually the mind, the uncontrolled mind. So then that's why we try to be a little bit more conscious of the mind. Like some months ago, I gave this exercise. Try to observe your mind. What is it doing? What is it suggesting? And then observe, do you immediately obey? Or on which what is the basis of, okay, yes, I accept what the mind, what is the basis of the acceptance, and what is the basis of the rejection? A Krishna conscious person will consider, is this good for my spiritual life? which the mind is suggesting, or is it bad? And then one can think, okay, if it's not good, then I will say no. If it's good for my spiritual life, then I accept, otherwise not. So that is one of the parts of the surrendering to Krishna, where one is always considering if this is good or bad. So that is a practice which one should also try to do. And but I think first of all, one should just be aware that one has a mind, because many times the mind is so close that we think this is me. It's like the intelligence is so close, we think this is me. But actually we are the observers, just observing what's happening. So what we can do, we can just trace back, oh, how did I come to think about this now? And then just trace it back. Oh, it's because I saw that yellow curtain here in this lecture. That's why I started to think about, lemons, lemon juice or whatever. So then one can see how the mind is actually working. So it's very quick when there is the thinking, yellow curtain, thinking, feeling, oh, I'm feeling thirsty, and then willing, I want to drink a lemon juice. So that's how the mind is all the time working, and we have to become more conscious of what's going on. And for that, we have also fellow devotees who can tell us, oh, now you're going the wrong path here, or, family members, or whoever it is. So in that way, we can retrace. But remember that there has been a competition between the mind and the soul all these lifetimes. And the soul has always been the loser. So the question is, do we want, again, this lifetime to be the loser? Or do we want to actually make a revolution in our existence? Because we can get a spiritual body. If we want, we can have a spiritual body. If we want, we can have a material body. So if we reject the material side, so then we will actually develop a spiritual body, because the soul is creating, the soul's existence is creating the material body, but then the soul can also create a spiritual body and be in the spiritual world. So that was one of the verses. Does anyone have any questions until now? Or I don't know, Katerina, do you think this makes sense here, or what do you think?
Yes, I think it does. Thank you. It's very interesting.
Okay.
Very interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So then we have another verse here from Prahlad Maharaj. This is the 7th canto in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Prahlad Maharaj is telling his father, who was a demon. Prahlad Maharaj is a devotee, and his father is the most powerful demon in the universe. And then he tells the father, my dear father, please give up your demoniac mentality. Do not discriminate in your heart between enemies and friends. Make your mind equiposed towards everyone. Except for the uncontrolled and misguided mind, there is no enemy within this world. When one sees everyone on the platform of equality, one then comes to the position of worshipping the Lord perfectly. So this is very interesting, because his father, Prahlad Maharaj, is sent to the school to learn politics. And his father is, an expert politician and demon. But the son, who is 5 years old, he's preaching to the father, and he's saying that except for the uncontrolled and misguided mind, there is no enemy within this world. So that's quite interesting, because many times we want to blame other people for our suffering. But Prahlad Maharaj said, no, we have not been able to properly control our mind. And also the mind can be its original state is actually the mode of goodness, but then it can degrade to mode of passion and mode of ignorance. So if one is too much passionate, and then one doesn't control one's senses, and then one can actually become crazy even. So it's very important that one doesn't, give in to everything which the mind wants, but there has to be some kind of control. And we can also see in the successful people in this world, I mean, they materialists, they wake up 4 a.m, like devotees. And then they have a very, very strict sadhana to become successful. Like I saw on YouTube, there was this Elon Musk. He was when he started his companies, Tesla and those companies, then he was saying he realized that he has to work 80 hours per week in order to catch up with everyone else. So then he was working 80 hours per week. So then he could develop his the Tesla. But imagine if that person would have put 80 hours per week in Krishna consciousness, he would be already back to Godhead. But if anybody wants to be successful, then there has to be some kind of self-control, mind control, and a practice. So that is like the fundamental elements for success. But that's, as my husband said, that it's not now that now we just leave the family and we divorce and we sell the house and we move into a temple like that. But we have to understand how to. Of course, sometimes there may be these impossible relationships. So then it's, maybe better to be separated if one feels that this association is just dragging me down. So that has to be considered and carefully and spoken with a spiritual master, and one can move into a temple. But otherwise, most people, they have to go through the grihastha ashram, raise the children, and go to the work and so on. But one can be Krishna conscious at the same time and connect everything with Krishna like that. So it depends where one is in one's ashram. Ashram can be the study time, the family time, then the retire time, and then for the men, some men take sannyas where they are completely renounced of the world. But if one is practicing, one can still be a detached student, a detached family man, a detached, so like that, but by engaging everything in Krishna's service. So then one is actually like a sannyas in that sense. Okay, let's try to finish here this last part of the purport. So by detaching the mind from activities not devoted to the Lord, one can very easily learn vairagya. Vairagya means detachment from matter and engagement of the mind in spirit. Impersonal spiritual detachment is more difficult than attaching the mind to the activities of Krishna. Yeah, so we have different paths in the Vedas where there is this impersonalism, means that one is focusing on God's impersonal aspect, the impersonal Brahman, as the supreme goal for one's practice. And that is very difficult because then one has to like empty the mind from thoughts, which is actually impossible, because if you are thinking, I have to empty, I should not think about anything now. So then you are thinking that you should not think. So in that way, it is actually impossible to not be active because the soul is always active. But it is, certain people, they go that path. But Prabhupada and Krishna is, in the Bhagavad-gita, they are suggesting another path. Instead of being detached, one becomes just attached to Krishna, and then very easily one will be detached to other things. Let's say if your whole life, the only thing you have been eating is, I don't know, some very simple food, and then you go to some other country and then they have so many nice fruits and many nice different variety of vegetables and amazing cheese and milk products and all of those things. So then you will not be longing back to the simple food which you were having. So it's very easy to attach oneself to something better. While the impersonal way of detachment is very problematic and almost impossible. And then Prabhupada continues in the purport. This is practical because by hearing about Krishna, one becomes automatically attached to Krishna, to the Supreme Spirit. This attachment is called parishanubhava, spiritual satisfaction. And then Prabhupada gives the example of a hungry man. He's very, very hungry. And then he starts eating. And while he's eating, he started to feel his energy coming back and he's feeling more and more satisfied. So that's how we gradually advance in spiritual life. We can add a little more Krishna consciousness, a little more like that. Not too, if we go too quickly ahead, then the mind will protest. So we have to be a little mindful of our mind. How much can it take? How much can my ego take? But we should always try to stretch a little more, so that one can reach one's goal at the end of life. Yeah, so the more one eats, the more one feels satisfied. It is, Prabhupada is explaining, this is like the material conditioning is actually a disease. And then the spiritual practice is that which is going to help us to become cured from it. And at the beginning, it can be very hard, very difficult. Chanting Hare Krishna may be very difficult sometimes, and there is no taste. And so Rupa Goswami says it's like jaundice. Jaundice is a liver problem, liver disease, and the whole skin gets yellow. And if you eat sugar, then it has a very bitter taste. But this candy sugar is the one which is going to cure you. So you just eat that sugar and it's very bitter. It's like, no, I don't like it. The mind goes like that. But then with intelligence, you just, yeah, but it's good for you. You will be cured. So sometimes we can feel like that with Hare Krishna mantra. No, mind doesn't like it. But the more we chant, the more sweeter it becomes. And because of that impurities which are there in the heart. Of course, if we want to take a shortcut, we just go to some kirtan mela, to some temple and stay there, and then we get so much taste for the holy name. Yeah, so then Prabhupada at the end says the diet is prasadam, and then the practice is chanting Hare Krishna. This treatment is the process of Krishna consciousness. Right. So we can try a little by little. We can, I mean, I've been practicing now 33 years. When I met Smita Krishna Swami, he actually came to my home, and then that was many years ago. And then we celebrated his 30 years in Krishna consciousness. So we baked a, prasadam birthday cake for him. And I was thinking, wow, 30 years in Krishna consciousness, that's like forever. And now I'm sitting here in the same situation. So, yeah. So as long as we go on, then there is nothing to lose. And even if we would stop, then next life we have the opportunity to take it up again. But I wouldn't recommend that. Jai. So, Miri, you didn't have any questions today?
No questions today. I was just listening.
Okay. How is it going with the chanting?
Yeah, it's so. Sometimes better than other times, but
Yeah. Nice. Don't give up.
yeah.
It's worth it to continue. Yeah. And I see Kalyani is here. Kalyani, you have been in France. Are you still there? You went to.
I came back, Mataji. Before Diwali, I came back.
Okay.
Yeah, but today it's because of puja and all, I got late. Today I was fasting.
Oh, yeah.
So every Monday we fast this month.
Oh, yeah, Kartik.
Kartik, so Monday. So
Very
we
nice.
fast.
Wow.
Very happy to know all your experiences and that you completed 30 years. That is really you are so lucky. Yeah.
It started.
I want to narrate. After you said this, I was remembering this. In New Mayapur, we met one Prabhuji. He is 72 years old.
Wow.
So he told us that he joined ISKCON when he's 22 years old.
Oh.
And he was initiated by Srila Prabhupada.
What's his name?
Dr. Gopaswami.
Okay. Oh, he's a Swami also?
Yes.
Yeah, wow, that's nice.
So he lives in a small house he built in the woods. He has built a small house. When we went there, in front of his house, he built a small Govardhana mountain kind of setup, and Krishna is sitting there. He is holding his plate with food and talking to Krishna and eating. And when we went there,
Yeah,
he
so
was staying in the small house, and he was even cooking his own food. And in between, he comes to the temple for bhajans and all.
Yeah.
So he was telling 50 years I was with Krishna.
Wow. Yeah, it's so nice to meet, devotees who are like fully dedicated, and you go to their home and then Krishna is everywhere in their home, in the pictures and here and there.
Yes, Mataji. It was very nice experience.
Yeah. We were actually in Hungary celebrating Govardhana Puja. There is
Krishna Valley?
Yeah, Krishna Valley. I think it's one of the most nicely developed communities in all of Europe, I would say.
Yes, that's true.
Have you been there also?
Yes, we went there also.
Yeah, okay,
Krishna
nice.
Valley. In 2022, we went there.
Okay, yeah.
So we are slowly covering each temples, and every temple is so special. We will feel like we should again visit multiple times, and again we end up visiting some other temple.
Yes.
But all
It's nice
temples.
because then one can get into the practice is so much easier if one stays in the temple for some time. Then you learn the Mangalarti songs, you learn to chant and Bhagavatam. And then when you go home, you can continue, as much as is possible, continue.
Yeah.
Of that.
And this month they are doing Damodar Ashtakam morning and evening. So I picked it up and I am also reading that Damodar Ashtakam.
Yes.
The tune is so wonderful and melodious.
Yes, that's right. Jai, I'm so happy.
So last week when we all friends met, Mashwini, myself and all for chanting, we all sang Damodar Ashtakam.
Oh, okay. It's such a sweet, very, very sweet song. I don't know if all of you have heard it, but
yes, very sweet, Mataji.
Have you heard that, Miri? I don't know if Miri is. Oh, yeah, Miri, you're still here. Have you heard the Damodar Ashtakam prayer?
No, I haven't heard it yet.
Okay, I will send you a link on YouTube. It's very sweet, very beautiful prayers.
Yes,
Very nice tune and very nice meaning also.
Yeah. It's like a devotee praying for love of Godhead. So he's saying, I don't want any liberation. I don't want, this and that. I only want to always remember Krishna and just have, feeling that love for him in the heart. I think that's what we all want. We want, have nice relationships and have loving relationships, because what else is there than wanting to have love instead of war and all the time this tug of war between people. Yeah, because everyone wants to be God, but we don't realize that if we just let go of those things, then we can just be, friends, and we are brothers and sisters ultimately, all of us. So yeah. Okay. So I saw Ashwini is also here today. That's also nice. Jai. Okay, everybody. Thank you so much. And I wish you everyone a nice continuation on the Kartik, this holy month of Kartik.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Yeah.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you for this day.
Thank you too, Ashwini.
Thank you.
All the best to everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.